All right. Hey, we are back for another live stream. This marks, I think, 2 weeks in a row. So today, joining me, Peter Manev, longtime member of OISF, the Open Information Security Foundation, the nonprofit that supports Suricata, and a longtime friend now. I guess Peter and I go back quite a few years. So we'll get Peter on. Just channel announcements. Let's see. I don't have any live streams scheduled for next week. We're going into a long weekend, I guess, in the United States here with Labor Day coming up. That has nothing to do with why there's no live streams next week. It's just I guess, just a fact. But then the week after, I believe, Zhusheng Li from Vector 35 will be on talking about debug capabilities in Binary Ninja. So you'll see that get scheduled here on the channel in the near term. Outside of that, I think just continuing to plug away on content. So I've been exploring a little bit more with the shorts format. Really curious to hear your thoughts on those. Definitely helps my view count. So leaning into those a little bit, and also the shortness helps me to focus on what I'm trying to say. But it's a weird format. It's kind of designed more, I think, for streaming off of a phone. So really curious if you check out any of the shorts videos. Let me know what you think of those. If they're I guess if they're what are the words I'm trying to find here? If they're useful for conveying the topics that I'm trying to cover. All right. Well, with that, welcome everyone. Juliana, great to see you. Patrick Phelps, thanks for joining today. Let's get Peter on. All right, Peter.
Howdy, folks.
You're now in the danger zone. Is that
awesome? That's where I like to be.
Yeah. We have a shared love for aviation, which often manifests itself in Top Gun references. So there you go. I had one guy I used to work with, and I was never much of a Seinfeld fan until I started working with him, because every reference he made, no matter what, was to Seinfeld or through Seinfeld. And so eventually I got to the point where we could have entire conversations in Seinfeld references about non-Seinfeld things. It was quite amazing.
If it works, it works.
Yeah. So I think welcome. Thanks for joining, Peter. You're certainly not the first time you've been on the stream, so always appreciate the time.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Today we're talking Suricata 8, so major release here that recently came out. Lots of new rule keywords. I would imagine a lot more data, and just I don't know. Curious to hear what's going on with the latest release. I know we'll get there. I also wanted to share, because this is also rapidly approaching Suricon, the annual Suricata user conference. Bounces back and forth between North America and Europe. This year, North America, Montreal, November 19, 2020. I was just in Madrid. Madrid was last year. I was just there, it seems like, but it's like almost a year ago already. It's mind-boggling. So anyways, anything you wanted to highlight here on the upcoming Suricon?
No, big thank you to all the community and the consortium members, and all the help outs for Suricon, of course. But that's one place where the community gets in. You get to exchange lots of ideas. You get to see and learn firsthand and hands-on experience of what's new, new detections, new possibilities for integrations, new possibilities for deployments, and all this. Important pieces of data information that actually could be very helpful to anybody, not just users, but integrators, organizations that are using Suricata, hunters, security engineers, and all those sorts of things. Also, a great place to meet, to develop partnerships. Similar. We have 3 trainings dedicated this year to Suricon. Deployment, advanced deployment, threat hunting, and rule writing, and they're all led by industry experts that have many years of experience, hands-on. So if there's something new to learn about Suricata 8 and detection and deployment, that's the place to be.
How are you teaching all 3 of these at the same time?
I'm just that good, you know what I mean? It's like
okay. Yeah. Okay. No, so threat hunting's been around for a while, and that's
yeah, I am actually leading that one, the threat hunting one, because this is more based around threat hunting with signatures, threat hunting with data, the data that Suricata produces. Then there is the rule writing, and that's led by Dave Wharton, Travis Green,
awesome.
and from Dave Wharton's from Uber, Travis Green's from Corelight, and the advanced deployment that's actually led by Eric Leblond from Stamus Networks, and longtime Suricata contributor, and also helped down and flanked by a couple of people from the team, pardon me, from the Suricata team. Philippe, I think Lucas is also going to give some insights. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. It looks like the talk schedule is already filling up quite nicely as well.
We actually announced the agenda as you're browsing through it. So we have some very nice and very interesting talks. And yeah, looking forward to see that. All it was a pleasure seeing you, Madrid. Hopefully you'll make it in Montreal. I'm not really sure if you could or could not, but that's depending on tight schedules and similar things. But I had a great time. And also heard folks also had a great time with one of your trainings, Josh, there at Madrid last year at Suricon. So that was super helpful. And you're doing great stuff with the streaming and posting your YouTube videos on malware as well, and work for the blue team. So
yeah, go blue team. Yeah, last year we were able to a colleague from Firestall, Pancho Perdermo Francisco. We showed up and have a 2-day training. We covered what I would consider the 3 legs of the detection stool. That's a good analogy. But we were talking Yara. Yeah, we were talking Yara, Suricata for network, and then Sigma for log collection. So yeah, we're not able to come back this year, unfortunately. It's scheduling and budgetary things, but hopefully sometime in the future. And that was certainly a great kind of a great opportunity to come and be a part of the group there. So looks like a great lineup. Montreal, Juliana mentioned there are bundled tickets with the trainings and discounts. So yeah, check it out. Make sure to check it out. Suricon.net is the website. And if you're interested, I won't get into it now because I'm actually saving this for another thing. But had a really interesting conversation about network monitoring and threat hunting at Black Hat this year, and that actually had an instance where the Black Hat team, their network operations center, found some malware on an infected system that wasn't part of a training because of some beaconing activity and looking at some network traffic. So that was pretty interesting stuff. Yeah. So anyways, I guess we're here to talk Suricata 8 though. And where do you want to start?
Let's dive into it. Sure thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you please make sure you stop me after 4 hours? Just no, I'm joking.
Yeah, I know. We were joking before. Every once in a while, when I start a stream, someone will ask like, "How much time do I have?" And as much time as you want. And then, but I'm secretly thinking, and I should probably just say, about an hour, because then every once in a while they'll be like, as much time as I want. All right, well, I've got 3 hours. Let's dive into it. So.
But thank you very much. We'll try to keep it under 15 minutes, although sometimes I have difficulties with that, especially when we need to talk about new things. Suricata 8 was just released, lots of new stuff. So my intention here is just to very high level walk into some of the new things in there and kind of to give you the idea what we've been working on for the past few years. And then what I really like to do and finish, like in every live webinar or live stream or workshop or training that I do, is do a couple of hands-on examples with the data, just so somebody can take that home and probably homework and implement it and all that stuff. So let's dive into it and and see where that gets us. So my name is Peter Manev. This is my alter ego. I'm only joking. That's cyber me, the sci-fi version. I am a long-time Suricata fan, contributor, part of the OISF team. I've been with Suricata for about 16 years now, since the early days. My official Suricata project title is Suricata Evangelist. I also do a lot in terms of QA and training. I'm also one of the founders and chief strategy officer of Stamus Networks, where we also develop a lot of open source solutions that we have on GitHub, and specifically around Suricata and the data Suricata produces. I've done a few trainings and have blogs and workshops around Suricata. I really like open source and threat hunting a lot, if you haven't got the idea yet. So for those of you folks that are not so familiar, Suricata is actually, I'm not so familiar with Suricata. Suricata is a high-performance open source network analysis and threat detection software. It is used widely in the world. We have many fans. Big thank you to our constantly growing community. Suricata is used by a lot of vendors, including top huge vendors out there. It is actually used also by regular smaller organizations, security experts, universities for teaching, and all sorts of things. Basically, Suricata is a D tool when you need to implement your network security monitoring, and it is already widely used. But what makes it so valuable is actually its openness, being open source, the data it produces, so alerts, protocol transactions, network logs, pickups, recordings, extracted files, all in the same tool. Usually you need, in a lot of cases, many tools to produce that. Suricata has evolved to be all those tools into one. So these are some high-level stats on GitHub. You can actually go on GitHub and look at it yourself, but I was just amazed to see that we actually have about 5,500 stars on GitHub and 1.6 thousand forks. So GPL license, but it was awesome to see so many likes and so many forks, and all the help that we're getting from community. Open source a project, and our community is also open, including for any newcomers and ideas anytime. Now, what is Suricata? A lot has changed since the past 16 years. Suricata certainly started as a very powerful and performant IDS, but it has evolved to be much more than that. Fast forward 16 years up to now. So it has different modes of operation. It could be deployed as an IDS. It could be deployed as a firewall. And actually, if you Google AWS Suricata, you'll see that it's one of the standard firewalls in AWS. It can be deployed as IPS. It could be deployed as network security monitoring tool, where actually it could work without rules and just generate the protocol flow anomaly file transaction data. It could actually do full packet capture or conditional PCAP capture. In conditional would mean actually deduplicated flows or sessions associated to a specific alert. Very, very powerful. Again, open source and free. Some folks pay, or some organizations pay quite a lot for commercial vendors for that, but Suricata does it out of the box by default, and it's open source. So if you don't have it, try it out. If you have it, please follow me and see where I can put it to work in terms of threat hunting in after a few slides. All right, so Suricata, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You'll find it in a lot of your favorite online sandboxes as well. So
that's true. Yeah.
Any run is the first one that comes to mind.
Definitely.
They have a very prominent. I forgot the name of the tab, but like a threat detection tab, and it's all IDS rules, and I know it's coming from Suricata, so pretty cool. It's still a very, very powerful. In fact, I tried to get it incorporated in the Flare VM.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure what happened to that, but there is a Windows version, so you can use it for your own malware analysis, your own threat detection. That's a really cool capability and feature as well.
There's also, I think I saw Suricata signatures firing at Triage as well.
I bet you're likely right on that too. I would be surprised if it wasn't using it. So. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's great to see the work people actually using the project, and it's great to hear about feedback and contributions as well.
Juliana says it's bundled with Kali, so that would make sense. That would make sense. Linux is a little bit easier, of course, with Linux. I think the Flare VM being a Windows distro, that makes it a little bit more on the danger zone side.
Different deployment scenario. Yeah.
But it works just as well in my experience. So.
Right.
Okay, back to it.
Yeah, no problem. Comments, no comment time. So for the past 8 for the past release, which is stable 8, Suricata 8, that has been actually about 2 years in development, and that's a lot of time and a lot of effort from a lot of developers. A lot of actually, we have consortium members donating code as well. We have help from a very thriving project, a very good community. We actually have about 3,000 project members. If you actually look at Redmine, the accounts, the accounts there. So community and consortiumship help is actually super appreciated. A lot of changes for 2 years on the code, and a lot of effort making sure new features are incorporated. Backward compatibility is actually not doing major breaking changes and similar things. And there's a bunch of new things that are in 8 that I want to just quickly walk with you over in a couple of slides, and then we dive into some data because my hands are itchy. I just want to get to some threat hunting, see if we can dig something up. All right. High level, quick note. Usually at Suricon, we do a lot of, as I mentioned before, trainings where we actually have 2-day trainings, and they specialize in different areas, of course, and it's very difficult for me to go over what we've actually been working on for the past 2 years in just here 40 minutes. But so I'll do it in high level. So just so you have an idea, this is order independent, of course, but there's some major additions, features, and groundbreaking changes that are super cool, I think. So, for example, Lua, you can use Lua scripting now, and that's OS independent. It's actually vendored in, so it doesn't really matter what operating system you're on. If you write a Lua script for Suricata 8, it would work regardless of the operating system you're deploying Suricata on. There's 8 new additions to protocols that brings them in total of over, I think, about 30 or 32 or something similar. But great job adding new protocols, and they're all DNS over HTTPS, LDAP, WebSocket, and similar things that are actually very good for security and network visibility alike. Suricata is a library. You can actually you have a huge possibility to actually bring your own packets and threads, as it says in the announcement to Suricata. So it actually increases the possibilities for customizations and integrations a lot, including by vendors. So super useful, super nice. A lot more Rust for protection, for security, and a lot more Rust coverage. So, for example, libHTTP is entirely vendored in and in Rust. It's not a separate installation anymore, so it's just vendored in. So, for example, if you install Suricata on Ubuntu or Debian, there's no need for different packages. It's all in there. Transactional rules. This is a great addition. This is actually before, when the logic for detection used to be expressed in 2, let's say, rules. So, for example, 2 client, 2 server, and similar. Now it can all be combined into 1 rules. And this is like making it super easy and useful to actually optimize rule writing. So a great addition there, really, and that's regardless of what protocols they use. So the capability.
If someone wanted to learn about writing transactional rules, where would they go?
So hold on, docs. Read the docs.
Maybe Suricata.
Yes. And of course, Suricon for the hands-on trainings. And so, not only for the trainings, also there's a few talks. There's a whole bunch of bright individuals there that can actually share knowledge and experience and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's the place to be if you want to exchange and learn a lot more about what's new.
You buy me a beer, I'll talk all night.
That's it.
I mean,
I'm sending you an 8-pack. What is it? No problem. That's easy. That's the easy part. Trust me.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, I found in the docs here. I'll post it in chat for everyone if you're interested in just reading a little bit more about these, or as mentioned, great opportunity at Suricon to come learn hands-on from Travis. I might have blocked his bio, but I know Travis well enough anyway, and he's been writing rules. I think in his bio it said he's over 4,500 rules. That's probably just in production. So he's been writing rules for a long time. I couldn't think of. There's only a handful of people that I could think are
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
top of the list of who I'd want to learn rule writing from, and he is most certainly up there at the top. So
Sure thing. And so there was a huge increase, about 38% increase of new detection keywords. And what does this mean for folks that are maybe not so familiar with the engine? It's basically Suricata inspects, generates alerts and inspects traffic and generates accordingly protocol logs, file transaction, flow anomaly logs, and similar. It will generate those network metadata and protocol logs regardless of the alerts or not. But when writing signatures, you have different so-called buffers where you actually, if you want something specifically inspected and detected by Suricata, you're telling it, can you look at this buffer, and if that's there, or if some combination of things are happening, then please alert. So, but to be able to tell it to look at specific places, this is for the purpose of performance, you need to have these keywords, which are basically buffer pointers, put it that way, very, very high level simplistically said. So there's 107 new additions. So in other words, much more coverage. And the jump between Suricata 7 and Suricata 8 is, in terms of new keywords, is 38%. So imagine it, for Suricata 1 to 7, we did 62 of these percent. And now with just for one release, there's such a huge increase in there, which is awesome, because it just gives more potential to the threat detection. Datasets got a huge upgrade. In other words, you can add now context to the IOCs. Dataset is a very performant and efficient way of actually using IOCs, whatever that IOC could be. File hash, URL, domain, you name it, things like that, user agents, and so on. And with this new addition, you can actually have, because IOC without context is actually useless, worthless. You have an IOC, you have a domain, okay, and you have no context about that domain, is actually that alert, that signature is actually useless because you have no idea what it is. So the so-called JSON data sets actually add that capability. You can add context to those IOCs. For example, you have an IOC in pure JSON, you can actually point it to references and similar things and URLs and links and where you got it from, and give context, so that when the alert triggers, you also have that piece in there as well. There's a new mode of operation, firewall. There is massive goody work done for CPU affinity. It's much more easy to configure. You don't have to spend that much time actually, pinning CPUs and doing fine tuning when it comes to CPU affinity and all that stuff. Is actually much easier to do it now from the YAML, from the configuration directly. It's just basically flipping a switch. Really nice job there. Performance is always on top of the list when a new Suricata release. We strive to always be better and better, even though we are adding more and more things for Suricata to do. Huge boost for pickup reading, for initializing, for DPDK and all that stuff. So it's really better and increased performance as usual with any Suricata release. This is by kind of default with any new major release. A lot more statistics and statistics additions to the what the engine is doing and how is it doing, and of course the output grew. So you have more protocol and data fields available in the EVE JSON, and of course that enables more possibility for hunting, for rule writing, for all of these things. So this is all good stuff, but let's talk a little bit what we're going to do in the next few, let's say, minutes. There is 4 types of hunting in general: structured, unstructured, entity-driven, and hybrid. Now, structured is usually on very high level. We can write a book about that, but in very general terms, structured will be like something that is, let's say, based on a known IOC. You have something, you read the blog, there's an IOC there, and you actually go to find it if that IOC, for example, is there. That will be, or specific TCP that an APT is using, and you have to go, you go in and you find it. Unstructured is a little bit more when you use your creativeness. You use some facts about the environment that you know, the data that you know, to find actually patterns or IOCs of a potential breach or attempted breach and similar things. So unstructured is a bit more data-based, experience-based, intuitive-based, and kind of a sum up of the following. And entity-driven is like when you're concentrating on specific entity. Could be user group, could be specific production servers, could be a specific area of the network, of the infrastructure, and things like that, just as an example. And hybrid is when you combine all of these, all the previous and before. So what I would love us to do, actually, is do a bit of hands-on with the type of data that Suricata produces. This is actually, the possibilities is endless, and we probably not going to be able to fit everything in one webinar. That's why hopefully we have a few, but we're going to look at a few advanced unstructured hunts with some of the new data that's available in Suricata 8. And the idea here is basically, so for anybody that's actually watching this, to be able to walk out with something that they can implement, something they can use, something useful, regardless of what the CM or database it is that they're using. As long as you have Suricata 8 installed, it should be good. Now, what I'm going to use for this actually small demo, if you will, or small couple of hunting ideas, is actually on GitHub. I just pushed the visualizations and dashboards today, actually. Believe it or not, there is over 55 different dashboards specifically for Suricata 8 and over 400 visualizations for OpenSearch. So, but the Suricata data is the same. So regardless if you're using OpenSearch or Elasticsearch or Splunk or whichever your SIEM may be, the data Suricata produces is the same, and that's the important part. But if you're on OpenSearch and if you're looking at the data, you're more welcome to actually just go ahead and use those. They're out there open source for the community. All right. So let's see how we're looking here. So again, for the purpose of these visualizations are located here on GitHub. They're for OpenSearch, and this is the name of the different dashboards. You can just go ahead and download them specifically for Suricata 8. What I have spun up here is actually a Clear NDR Community Edition, but it doesn't really matter. You could use, as long as you have OpenSearch and Suricata data, you could use that anywhere. So what I'd like to point out is, first, if you, let's go to Discover. So once you import the dashboards and you have Suricata running, you're going to have some data in there, right? So if you look at the data, Suricata produces different types of data. Well, maybe not the last 15 minutes, but and I have a bunch of data in here. This is just, I created like a bunch of publicly available pickups. I merged them, and then I just I replayed. And let's see, let's do 24 hours, just to have an idea. So there are different types of data that Suricata produces, as I said. So alerts are part of it. There's anomaly logs, there's different protocol logs like ARP, BitTorrent, DHCP. All of these are broken down in here in the visualization like so. And so in the different fields, you have LDAP, MQTT, HTTP, and all those things. One of the things that I'm actually going to use today is flow, because Suricata produces the flow data regardless of
Hey, Peter.
Alerts are similar. Yeah.
Are you able to bump the fonts up just a tad?
Yeah, you got it, man.
The zoom.
How's that?
Yeah, that looks
a little bit better. Or no?
Yeah, that looks great. Yep. And then let's see. I'm gonna just play around with our videos a little bit because I find that to get the most of your desktop, I have to overlay our videos. So, all right, I'll leave it there. If we need to, move them around, I will. I'm trying to pay attention, but I'm easily distracted. So.
No problem.
Okay.
So this is what a flow record produced by Suricata looks like. Let me switch to the JSON view. So this is like a typical part where it actually says flow. You have some regular information, packets and bytes to server. One important piece of information here is the flow ID, which is always a unique value by Suricata, able to correlate all the different protocol metadata to an alert in the same session or flow. And every record has that, and that's how with the same flow ID you can correlate all that data. There's a bunch of other information in here, GeoIP, for example, destination ethermax and similar things. If there is an application layer protocol, in this case is UDP, but if there is application layer protocol, will also be here. So useful stuff. A couple of the new things, but there are many, but a couple of the new things, that's why they want everybody to walk out of here with something you could use at home, let's say. A couple of the new things in terms of data, for example, are transaction counts in flow. So for example, flow can have many transaction counts, but from the perspective of threat hunting, this is actually a good piece of information. By itself, it doesn't mean anything, but in combination with other things or ideas, it could actually give us something valuable. And in a flow count, in a transaction counts in the flow, pardon me, usually the higher the number, it means more verbosity and more things are actually happening in that flow. So if actually I want to see, let's go to the dashboards and let's just use an unstructured hunter hypothesis, let's say. And if I want to go and see, let's just say with something super simple and see how that new piece of information could be valuable. If I look at DNS records, right, and usually the DNS logs and this and that, they could be very verbose, but one traditional technique, very common, used by actors is, let's say, tunneling, not only by actors, but others as well. And each of these boards has its own visualizations and data, and they look like, so again, you can use this with any Suricata 8 data. It uses the default Suricata 8 data. But what is going to be interesting for me here is actually in this dashboard. At the bottom, I have a breaking down. So there's two types of data mixed in here. One is DNS records and the other one is flow records, right? So I want to actually combine both of them because I have an idea that I just want to see the highest transaction DNS flows. Let's see what this gives us, okay? And what I have here, I want to show you, is this last actually visualization. And that could be, I'm going to go to edit it. This could be done, again, in any CM, any DB, regardless of what it is, of what the DB or the CM is. And what I have here is something pretty basic. It's like I'm basically saying from the flow records of Suricata, I just wanted everything organized by count and split 3 different ways, right? So first start with the flow count, then with the flow ID, and then by application protocol. The flow ID is essential here because I actually need to correlate it across different types of data. So that was the idea. And since in this case, I'm going for DNS logs, I thought would be better for this specific visualization if I edit it here. And I actually specifically, because this is actually going to give me a breakdown for different protocols, SMB, HTTP, so on and so forth. I actually want to specifically zoom, let's see, let's zoom on DNS because we're looking at DNS records, right? So DNS. All right. Then what I'm going to do is just save and return and see what this gives me. And let's see. I'm going to scroll down. And what do we see? Okay. So this is on top. I have 93 flow transactions with an application protocol layer DNS. And if I want to look at those, I just simply need to click on the plus here, which will correlate the flow data and the DNS data by its relevant flow ID. So let me zoom in on that.
Hey,
and
Peter,
let's see what the results are.
would you be able to bump the font, maybe the zoom just a little bit more?
Yeah, let's see how this will gonna look like. Okay.
Yeah.
So
If it doesn't cause chaos.
no, that's fine. That's no problem.
All right.
And if that's okay, let me know. Otherwise, I can zoom it a bit more. So what we have here is queries and answers, and there's only 2 error names, but there's a lot of those. So this might be so it's usually same source and destination IP, of course. It's usually could be a misconfiguration, could be something interesting to actually look at what and why this specific one in such a short burst of time, because this is all going within the same second, basically. If you look at it, the same few seconds is bursting up. It could be a regular startup of a device. So, or it could be a burst of many different domains, queries and answers, which could indicate actually also a malicious activity. So that was our first one. Let's see. We don't gonna go through all of them, but let's see, for example, the second group, and we're gonna go in with, again, click on the flow ID, and lo and behold, here we have something much more interesting. All right. So again, we're grouping lots of transactions in the same DNS flow, in the same DNS record, and just because we have a hint and idea that could be something useful. So it's for threat detection, I mean. And what we have here is something very, very interesting. This is a traditional tunnel. So you have the DNS RR name, and you can see actually the tunnel going around, and you have the reply, which is actually quite unusual and orthodox. So it's obvious that there's a tunneling going on, but it's so easy with a few clicks. I went from like 500,000 logs with basically 3 or 4 clicks. I just figured one out just by looking at the logs that there's something that needs my attention. So, and this is like a DNS tunnel. So one of the takeaways here is that, of course, it's useless to do manual threat hunting over and over of the same thing over and over again. One of the takeaways here is that you can combine that formula, automate it, and move on to the next one. And here what we're doing, what's something new and useful, is actually the transaction counts of a flow, how many transactions in the same flow appeared. So this is actually useful and interesting information. I'm going to go and switch over and give another example, which I think is helpful and useful. By the way, this is DNS. You can actually switch the hunt here and go to file types, to file transactions, and then look at the flows with the highest or lowest transactions and similar things, and look by protocol. And this would easily actually highlight some very interesting things. If you have the time in here, I can actually switch that over, but I want to show you another angle here. I don't want to overstay my welcome necessarily, so because we would like to come back, because very thankful for this possibility. But I'm going to go on the alerts, and often enough we have this. There's many alerts. Is it true positive? Is it false positive? Which one should I look at first, and all those things. And but what our focus here now is, as I said, unstructured hunt. So the dashboard loaded here, and in this case we have 156,000. That's great. So we're doing a hunt over these. Some things, again, this is just I merged a bunch of publicly available malware pickups from malware traffic analysis. Big thank you for that. And I was just looking at the data from a different perspective. So here in this hunt, what we're going to do is actually we're going to look specifically at some of the new fields that are available in the alert. And part of the job of a successful part of the job of a successful threat hunter, pardon me, is actually to come up with curious new ideas. And one part of that is actually, again, the dashboard uses standard Suricata 8 data. There's plenty of data, and there's good possibilities to hunt. It's all broken down by different fields and widgets in here. It's just basically a matter of how you look at the data to come up with that hunting idea, let's say, or based on your experience to come up with a new hunting idea. But when looking at the alerts, you have something Let's see if we have it here. When you're looking at a traditional, just a general alert, this is all the data that's available in there, and it already has plenty of information, including the application layer is there. For example, in this case, that's an alert, but it also have, I can see some of to server and to client, some of the new fields are in there. These are new fields in Suricata, so you can actually gauge when the alert triggers what was this, the status in there. But you also have, again, some flow data inside the alert, but this is different than the actual flow record data, which is produced at the end of the session. But this is nonetheless useful information inside the alert itself. One new useful, one of many, of course, but one good thingy that you can use for threat hunting is this payload length. Again, one field, one thing by itself is not so useful. You have to combine it with others to come up with a proper formula. This is new in Suricata, and what it tells me something really, really simple that at first glance may mean nothing. And that just says this is the length of the payload. The payload is where the actual final match happened and where the Suricata triggered an alert. So it's that part of the stream, let's say, or the session. That's it, and that's all. So now you're probably looking at me and be like, well, what are you going to do with that? Let's have a look. Often enough, if you're using Suricata, you're using different types of signatures. Some are custom-made, some are homemade, some are from different vendors available. They're one of the vendors that's available out there that has public and free set is Proofpoint. We also have a paid one, which is much better, of course. But if you've actually used Suricata, you know there's different categories of rules and things like that. And often enough, you might be wondering if you're hunting. Some things are quite obvious, okay? But often enough, if you're hunting, you might be wondering where to start. Well, this is why in these visualizations I made the following. So this might look familiar from before, the transactions in the flow. And again, here we're mixing flow data with alert data, like event type alerts with event type flows, okay? And one interesting indicator here is a very simple, very simple table. Payload length and count. That's it, and that's all. If you're wondering how it looks like this. So if you have the data, here it's an OpenSearch. It's the exact same breakdown in Elasticsearch. It's a very similar breakdown in all the other. It's basically a count metric and the payload length. That's it, and that's all. That's the visualization. However, now when we combine it with other piece of information, it might become a better trigger hunt or a better idea for a hunt. Let's see. Sometimes simple goes a long way. So if you type something like hunting in the dashboard, which will actually search for, hey, I went from 150,000 something to 3,000, 4,000 rules, 4,000 alerts. That's not bad, but it's way too much. Different protocols, different application layer protocols. Well, let's see. If we scroll down, on that visualization we have, you see there's a payload length. There's quite a big payload length, and they're all broken down with different counts. So, and you can actually sort ascending or descending on those fields. Again, this is an OpenSearch, but regardless of your search engine can do that anywhere because it's Suricata data. What's interesting is if you zoom on that specific payload length, let's see. The search is still ongoing. Let's give it some time to finish and see where that is going to take us. Okay, we have to it, but have a look at this. We just came out with a bunch of hunting signatures that have a bigger payload. Well, it's actually very interesting things to look at and to understand why are they triggering. So, for example, these are the triggers, and if you open one, for example, Suricata signature, you can actually have a look at the payload. And boy, that's a big payload here. And is the payload printable? So actually, this is looks like base 64 and similar things. And so this could actually give you other ideas for the hunt and what to look at and what to zoom on for, and just gives you a different perspective of the data that you're looking at, and that by itself can trigger a successful or unsuccessful hunt. And as you're moving along through the data, like I'm just doing now, you can actually come up with better ideas to refine your hunt. And in this case, let's see what we come up with. Blah, blah, blah. Open one. Let's see. Anything interesting or not. So base 64, we need to check that out, what it is about. But, yeah. Well, there you have it. You have a process list being extracted and similar things. That's actually even in clear text. And if this is the regular JSON view, if you look through it through the lenses of the way it's displayed in Kibana, it's actually a bit more presentable. You can see a bit more human readable, put it that way, and you can actually see the different actually fields being dropped out here from an infection, and like the output of a exfiltration, let's see, or information exfiltration in that way. So here, what it ended up being is I actually specifically zoom in on hunting category signatures with a bigger payload length. Not that because bigger is always better for threat hunting, but just because out of curiosity, then you might want to switch on the reverse, make smaller, and then you're actually looking for some suspicious posts. So a way to refine the hunt. But this actually field is newly added to in Suricata 8, and in combination with other things, if you actually display the data, you can actually get other ideas or for hunts and for similar similar display of data that can actually give you more even suggestions for hunting formulas. And that I just covered in a very fast way, by the way. I just covered 2 of the new fields in Suricata. There's hundreds new things in Suricata, so the potential is really limitless. So I just did an example of that. And again, here my example was DNS logs and flow logs. Here my example was actually specifically hunting with alerts, and just looking at it from basically different lens, different perspective, different view on the data. And I think for a successful hunt, there's a few things that need to be in place. First, you have to have the right tools. Then you have to have the right training on those tools. Then you need to know a little bit about your environment. What's normal, what's not normal, of course. But ideally, and ultimately, I think the tool that you're using should actually enable you to come up with all sorts of ideas. And this is a network threat-based hunt. This is entirely from looking out on the network. Do you want me to go through another example real quick? Do we have time?
Yes. So when we talked about timing, my kids have piano, so we go too long, and you will hear the piano in the background very clearly. Okay. But I think we have a solid 10 minutes before piano starts, if that works for you.
That works for me.
Okay.
So then can I sign up for the piano show? Like, can I get like a 5% discount or something? Because I was on the live stream, or
I could just take my camera and turn it, and that would then give you a live stream of the piano lesson.
Hey, what is better than this live stream plus a piano show? Come on, you don't get that too often. Seriously? Come on,
well, and what's even better is you won't listen to me play the piano because I can't play the piano. You'd think I bang on keys all day long. I could just sit down and pick up the piano.
I forgot to tell you, I'm definitely not interested in your piano. In you playing piano. Yeah. So I need the pros here, not like you. Please, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's see it. Let's do it.
All right, let's see. What I was gonna quickly show is the file transaction. So this is basically Suricata detects file transactions on different protocols, and those events end up being event type file info, basically. And here, if you use the same principle as in, let's say, if you actually import, I'm gonna use it here quickly. So this is my flow transaction count, simplistic table view, and I'm just gonna import it. And let's just say, again, you're looking at file transactions. What's interesting? Well, there's a million transactions or a ton of transactions. Doesn't matter. I'm exaggerating. You can just initially break by protocol. Let's say SMB. So this is file transactions in SMB, and then you can actually have a look at the I need to save it, I think. I wanted to reload all the data from the flow transactions, but let me try to reload it. And basically, you're looking at number of transactions inside an SMB flow. And that's usually a very good indicator to see what's up and what's new. This is the demo effect here. Why something was not showing up before, but now. But it is totally worth it. There you go. Okay, see. Yeah. I'm in here. Oh, do you know what I did? I know why. Because when I edited the visualization, I saved protocol DNS. I'm gonna edit the filter, and in this case, just remove it to give me all the protocols. I'm gonna do save and return. Lo and behold, the data will be here. We're gonna zoom in on SMB, and we have a few SMB transactions. And I'm like, okay, this flow ID has 171 transactions in it in SMB. I want to zoom in on it. Let's see what us. And interestingly enough, we have two file transaction records being as part of that flow that has 171 transactions inside that SMB flow. And what do you know? Some of them are kind of pretty hefty. That's not necessarily bad, but when you start looking at it, there's two major problems in here. That name is out of this world, of course. It could very well be an antivirus or whatever upgrade. They also look quite funky, but the combination with the SMB1, right, is quite worrying because
that
SMB1
could also
is a
be
very old protocol.
Chrome extension, right?
Yeah, but the SMB1 being actually in the network on around, and not that they're not legacy systems, but it's actually super old that should be disabled. So something new came out of this one here. And again, Suricata has the data, has the flows, has the protocol data, has the alerts, has the pickups. You can actually correlate and all those things inside the same thing. Now, I just wanted to actually leave it open here. I wanted to actually kind of a little bit conclude. We mentioned about Suricon, all the great things in terms of community, ideas, trainings, integrations, brainstorming happens at Suricon each year. We're there, as my t-shirt says. I'll be there, looking forward for some feedback, ideas, criticism even. We have 3 different trainings this year led by industry experts. Please join us. More than welcome for any new sponsors or consortium members. We have a special discount for the trainings, and whoever decides to show up. It's an open source project. Don't be afraid to get involved. We have an online Discord chat system and a community forum. There is some more resources here if somebody wants to actually repeat the same, what I just demoed hands-on with a glimpse of the new additions to Suricata data for a threat hunt. These are the resources. And of course, a big thank you for having me here, Josh, one more time. For looking forward to maybe a few more, because I just showcased a couple of small things. So we multiply that 100, and we could do a few,
Yeah.
more of these. I'm just saying. But thank you very much for having me, and apologies if I overstayed my welcome in terms of time.
No, never, not at all, not at all. I certainly didn't mean to make timing into a hot topic here.
I know.
Yeah,
That's no problem.
that's fantastic. Thank you for your time and coming on to share your knowledge and expertise. I guess last call. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in chat, and doing our best here to monitor that, and we'll try to answer those live. The recording will be made available just immediately here once we hit end. So if you're catching the stream, YouTube's probably the best place if you have a comment. If you're watching this somewhere else, to go to YouTube and just add to the conversation there. As Peter shared, I know a lot of the team is pretty active in the Suricata forums, so that's also a great place just to go VFR direct and ask the questions there to people like Peter and the developers and other team members. And there's a lot of heavy hitters in the community that have been working with you and with Suricata for a long time, so you will definitely find an answer to what you're seeking. We will absolutely do this again. So I'll follow up with you, Peter, just offline here, and we'll find some time to continue maybe the series or anything else Suricata related. I certainly trying my best to be an ongoing evangelist for Suricata as well. I did check on the integration of the Flare VM. There is an issue open, so hopefully here in the short term, well, maybe sometime this year, you'll see the ability to just Choco install Suricata into any Windows VM. But I like the Flare VM because then it has all the other tools to go with it. I've also got a whole series on doing that on YouTube. So if you want to check out how just one way of basically using Suricata in a Windows VM for alert creation based off of PCAP or writing your own custom rules, I've got a few videos that go through that process and lay out sort of an environment for that. So, yeah, thanks everyone.
And by the way, Josh, big thank you because you also done some educational video content for the OISF and for Suricata Project that is actually on our on our web page. So big thank you for that as well.
Most welcome.
Much appreciated. And I've been in a few trainings with you. Looking forward to do a few more of these, by the way.
Yeah.
Really enjoy them. Again, thank you very much for your time. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you, Juliana, Kelly, for joining. Patrick, Drew, I know you were here. So thanks everyone for joining. Again, I don't have a live stream planned for next week unless something changes. And the week after, I think we'll be talking debugging with Vector 35. So stay tuned for the next live stream. I see there are no more questions. So Peter, thank you for your time. I think I'm going to hit end stream.
Thank you.
We'll call it a wrap.